What's up, everybody, and welcome back to another episode of Life's a Garden. Today's guest is a four-time indoor football champion. His most recent championship victory coming just last year with the Salina Liberty, and previously 3 championships with the Billings Outlaws. He's coached for multiple teams in several different leagues, including the CIF and the IFL, to which he is a member of the Hall of Fame. We talk about his entire career, stemming from his playing days into his coaching career and everywhere in between. We talk about some of his favorite moments in coaching and playing, as well as the championship victories and all of that. Ladies and gentlemen, please welcome to the show, Coach Heron O'Neill. Well, first off, let me just start off by saying congratulations on the recent championship victory.
Thank you. I definitely appreciate it. Yeah, that was tough. It was really tough with all the things we went through with the suspensions and all of that crazy stuff, and a very tough schedule. And then the playoffs were really tough. I mean, to play you guys, Billings, in the playoffs, and that was a definitely physical football game. My MVP from the previous year re-broke his arm in that game, so we didn't have him for the championship. So it was a lot of different things going on this year 2022, that made it, once we did win it, it made it worth it, because it was like, man, we went through so much to get to this point, and to do it for 3 consecutive years of being at the championship game, we got to bring it home to finally get it home and win a championship for the first time since I won my 3rd one here in 2010. So it was exciting to have my family there. My wife was there. My kid was there, little Mia, to see that and celebrate with them. And even the newspaper caught a glimpse of us doing like a group hug as soon as I won it. So it was very special just to see my daughter's face, because she wasn't even thought about in 2010.
Right.
So to see her face, just to look at all the confetti and look at all of this and the trophy and all of the stuff that went on afterwards, she was a memory I know she'll never forget. Right.
So that was her first experience with that championship.
Yes.
Stuff too. So, because it's been, well, hell, that's 12 years, right?
Exactly.
In between, but you were all over. You start off with the Outlaws, is that right? In the indoor.
Well, I started off with the Wyoming Cavalry in Casper. That was my first year in 2005. I was the defensive coordinator and the recruiting coordinator there. From there, then I went to Billings and was here 5 wonderful years. Never knew that those 5 years would basically, from those 5 years, is what springboarded my coaching career, because I found out I actually liked it.
Yeah.
That was my first time ever as a head coach as well. I met my wife up here. So, I mean, it was great. And then the tornado, and that's when things took a twist, no pun intended.
Yeah. So, and then you went to Colorado, right? Is that right?
Yes, I went to Colorado for, 5 years. Then I went to Dodge City for a year just as a D coordinator, just to stay active. And then to Salina for the previous now 5 years. So in Salina, I've been into 3 consecutive national championship games.
Oh, wow.
And then 1 Northern Conference championship to go to so basically it was like semifinals there. So definitely turned what Salina was into what they are now, with a lot of help from our general manager, Francis Flax. He's done a great job of, handling the business side. I don't have to worry about the business side. I sell a couple sponsorships here and there, and, deal with the different people there. But he handles that business side with a great ownership group that let me be me, which is just coach. I don't have to be bothered with, other things. They handle that, and they give me the aids that I need to continue to be successful on the field. But they were 3 wins, 21 losses in there 2 years before I got there, the infant stages. So
okay, so you turned it around.
Well, we did. I like to say we, because, I mean, without the great ownership group, I've been places where, you know, we did really well on the field, but the front office didn't do what they needed to do to make the game stick, so to say, and it didn't work out. But I'm definitely happy with everything that they've done for me, as well as for my family. I mean, they fly my wife up there 3, 4, 5 times a year to the game and stuff. So things like awesome. That is pretty cool, because I'm all about family, and being away from my wife for, 5 months out the year, and my daughter for 5 months out the year. And I only see my daughter once or twice in that 5-month span.
Because she's got school and stuff, I'm assuming,
yeah.
right? And you're based out of Billings still, right? Like,
I live here in Billings. We moved back 2016.
Okay.
We moved back here. Kind of just been low key, not really saying much, but I was still working at other spots, but this was the home base, because once we had Mia, I didn't want to do what we did once we left Colorado. I want her to have a home base that she can grow her roots, get her friends.
That's hard.
Yeah, I don't want to, nothing against military kids that move around and do it. I couldn't perform like that. So
well, you hear different stories sometimes with that. Sometimes it's an experience that helps develop them in a different way, but then you get other problems where, like, you don't develop a personality. You're always having to change and reinvent yourself and stuff like that, make new friends. It can be hard, but it goes both ways sometimes. But you don't want to take that chance.
No, I don't. And when I have now I have more control over my career, because I'm basically my own agent now. I don't have an agent where they say, hey, you go here. Yeah, that's great. You can tell me I could go here, 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 and here, but I'm the one that actually have to move there and do this, and find my wife a job while she moves out here.
Yeah.
Now she's set up. She does lashes and things. That's what she does here at I can't think of the name of it. It's on 24 Beaches and Waves or something. That's what it's called.
Okay.
She's perfected that. That's what she's good at. She has an esthetician license as well, that she does that stuff there. So she's finally found her niche that she loves. So it's no sense moving her from that when she's starting to build her clientele the way she likes it. My kid is in school here, and I love Billings. I mean, I love the state of Montana. I love, camping. I love the fishing, even though I've only been fishing probably twice here, and we haven't went camping in a while. But
you're not going to hurt my feelings. I'm not an outdoorsman at all.
Oh, see, I wasn't.
Even being from here, like, everybody calls me crazy just because, I live here. I've lived here my whole life, and it's like, it's just never been my thing. Like, we built buildings so that we could escape the outdoors. But that's just my own personal. But it is nice to have it as an option.
Yes.
For sure.
Yeah, because, I mean, I'm from Chicago, so
okay.
That type life right there is
totally
the
different.
reason why, I can really enjoy it. Because if I was a young man in my 20s or so, this would not be the spot I would want to be at. But doing all the things I did, I played in the NFL, I went to college, I did all of these different things. I seen a lot. But now I'm an older man, that was in my 20s. I'm going to be 48 in a couple weeks here. So I'm more settled down, and I like that peace that you have when you're out there. I still can't do the tent by myself. My wife still has to help me. She's a country girl. She helps me, and, doing those type things I enjoy a lot. But we haven't done it here recently, kind of been moving around a lot and stuff, getting things accomplished. But that's one of the reasons I chose to live here. Right
on. And so you said you've been coaching Salina for 5 years now?
This would be my 5th year.
Okay, and you just signed a new contract, is that right?
2 years ago.
Oh, okay.
Yeah. It was just an extension is what it was.
Gotcha.
Yeah. So it goes, I think, through 24 or something like that, 25 or something like that. So
right on. I mean, that's good. That's nice to have that
stability.
Right. And so long as you keep winning championships, you're not going anywhere, right?
No. I mean, that's the plan, is to continue to stay there, do what I do, and continue to win. And long as everything stays the same, I'm happy with where I'm at, and they treat me right. So I mean, that is definitely the plan.
Well, and have they always been in the CIF?
Yes.
Okay, so since you've been there, they've been in the CIF.
Yes.
See, I get somewhat confused when it comes to because there's a few different leagues, right?
Oh, it's probably about 16 to 18 different leagues.
Yeah, and they're usually kind of regional based, and then you got the IFL, right? That's like the big one.
Well, that as well as the fan control football. They pump more people out than anybody to the NFL and CFL.
Really?
And that's based in Georgia. All the teams are there in Georgia. They got people, I think Quavo from the Migos own the team. They got some celebrities that actually own the teams, but they're based in just Atlanta, Georgia, where they don't have to, they cut the travel out. You're right there. All the practices are right there. So it's pretty cool. We had a quarterback go there last year, Mitch Kidd. From there, he played with us in the championship in 2021. Then 2022, he was at the fan control football, and now he got drafted to go to the XFL.
Dang.
So definitely good to, these leagues are outlets that, guys that kind of fall through the cracks. And because I kind of felt that's what I was. I felt, Milk, if you go back in the day, 98, 97, when I came out, Mel Kiper said I was going to be a 5th or 6th round pick. And I wasn't, but I was an undrafted free agent. I still made it, but it was not the same as getting drafted and things of that nature. So when it came time to coach, I wanted to be one of those type people that, I fell through the cracks. So I understand what these kids are going through and trying to get to their goals and aspirations. And I try my best to help them. And through my programs, 64 players have moved up to the NFL, CFL, XFL, Arena 1. So definitely happy that I was a bridge to get these kids their opportunities. Yeah,
absolutely. Well, and I totally lost my train of thought with that. Are you big in the recruitment aspect of?
I do all the recruiting.
Okay, that's a big part of your
player
job.
They come in. I have Coach Martinez, Jorge Martinez. He's been my long assistant. He's been with me for probably almost 9 years. He helps with recruiting as well. We have Scout Johnson, that's his name that he goes by, that helps us with recruiting as well, that we brought him on board this year to help us out, and he's brought in some very good acquisitions. So definitely happy with the little crew that we have now. But usually the 2022 season, 2021 season, 95% of it was me just finding players from all these different walks of life and getting them signed to come play for us.
So what do you do to take those steps? Is it college or guys who just missed out on the league? Like, what's your process when you do something like that?
Well, it's a lot of different things that go into it, but those are the ones we want, are guys that were either released from the NFL, CFL, and now it's going to be the XFL, but the USFL. Those are the 4 major leagues that's in football. So you always look there first for your ball players, because usually those are the better players, so to say. You try to get those guys to come and play for you. We had, 1, 2, I think we had 3 guys on our team from last year's national championship team that actually made it to the NFL that came back and stuff. So you start there, but you also look at college, and I never just, look D1, even though I played D1, but I look FCS, I look NAIA, I'll look D2. I found some pretty dang good football players that were not D1 athletes. The one that come to mind is the greatest one I've ever coached is Michael Eby. Michael Eby was a fan favorite here.
I can attest to that.
Yeah, he was a baller, and nobody really thought much of him once we signed him, because he played outside linebacker at Western Oregon. And just getting to see him and how he studied and how he prepared himself, that was a pleasure. And it showed me that it's not all about D1. It's about what you have in between your two shoulders, is your head and your heart. And he played with that. And just to get to know him off the field, because I learned stuff about Boise, Idaho, and things of that nature. And I used to call him the mountain man, because he used to have that big old beard.
Big long hair.
Yeah, the big skier type guy and everything. But he showed me a lot of things, hunting and things of that nature and stuff. So just as he was learning from me, I was learning from him. So him, as well as I would say Shaq, that played for me these past 2 years in Salina. This is a kid that played NAIA ball, 2-time Defensive Player of the Year his last 2 years in college, and he had over 47 sacks.
Jeez.
I mean, this guy is phenomenal. And the only reason he's probably not in the NFL right now is because he's only 5'10", about 240. But my gosh, this kid can play. He's all over the place on special teams and at defensive end. So
right.
I learned very quickly that NAIA got something to say. They got some good football players. They just need the opportunity.
Yeah. Well, and then on the as far as like the leagues, you got all these different leagues. I followed a lot when I was, obviously we had the Outlaws here, the IFL. Well, I guess it was the NIFL before, which
it was the NIFL, then we went to the UIF, then to the IFL.
Okay, that's right. 3
different leagues in my 5 years of being here.
Yeah, well, and then the you said UIF? Or
yes.
Yeah, they got absorbed by the
IFL.
That's right. And that's when they were their biggest.
Yeah, we merged with them as well as it's called the
like the Lone Star division.
Lone Star thing. They merged together and we had 26 teams.
Yeah, it was like the most because every time I see these leagues, there's usually only like anywhere between 10, 12, something like that.
Right.
And then you see a lot of them move around so often. So what does that attribute to as far as like them, because like the Beef are in the CIF now, right?
Right.
And they were in the IFL, then they were in another league. Like, what happens there is it ownership? Is it just like overall performance of the teams?
I think the performance of the team is the least of what the problem is, so to say. Because you look at the Iowa Barnstormers, they used to be in the AFL.
Yeah.
The Arizona Rattlers, AFL, and they were dang good there, both of those teams.
Kurt Warner played for the Barnstormers, if I'm not mistaken.
He did, and that's the thing. So I don't think it has anything to do with what they're doing on the field. I think it has a lot to do with what's going on behind the scenes. That's why I say you can be as great as you want on the field. If you don't have that support team that's actually out there in the community, getting the community excited about your whereabouts and what you're doing there, as well as you getting good sponsorships and the business side taking care of things, I think that's more important than anything. It's like they say, it's always the finance is definitely over the football when it comes to the indoor football. Well, and then I'm sure there's contracts and stuff involved too with the leagues from the teams. So I'm sure there's a lot more. Yeah, leases with the different arenas you play in, and a lot of different things. Workers' comp. I mean, that was a big deal.
Insurance.
Yeah, that stuff. I mean, you have a bad year, you can go from spending $20,000 a year to $160,000, and if you don't have that in your budget, there's a team folded just like that. So I mean, it's a lot of different things that you have to be aware of and understand indoor football. Like my old owner and Tom Wigley in Colorado, he said the slimy underbelly of indoor football, because it's slimy. It's a lot of different things that go on, and if you don't pay attention, you go under the ground and they won't even know you were there.
Well, especially when you have so many competitive leagues with like competing with each other and such things like that. And then you get new ones that pop up every now and again, and sometimes last, sometimes don't. Like it's sometimes it's hard to keep track of when you're not like watching it all the time or super invested. Like now that. And I've gone back and forth just because we have a team, we don't have a team, we have a team, we don't have a team type of thing. So it's hard to be invested when you're not watching the games live and stuff like that.
But the thing that I will say about here, Stephen Titus is the owner now. He's a lawyer. He's a very sharp individual. He knows his stuff. You're not going to pull any wool over his eyes. I think they're on the right track of what he's laying the foundation, because he took the team over with basically one game left in the regular season, and then he went to the playoffs. So he was only there for 2 games. Okay,
yeah, didn't mean to cut you off there. Wasn't there some kind of, for a lesser term, fuckery going on there, like in the beginning?
Yeah, that I can't speak on because I don't really know what happened. I just know that it was a transfer from one owner to another owner, and with this owner being here, and the people that, we know a lot of mutual people, because I know a lot of people in this city, and, they speak pretty highly of him, that he knows what he's talking about, and he's in it for the right reason. He wants to bring entertainment to Billings. He wants to get it back to what it was and what it should be here. That piece right there is, he is instilled inside of him that he can bring that back here, and I think he's the right guy for the job. I mean, he He's putting the sponsorships there. He's putting his own money up. You know, that's the thing that's when you really can tell if somebody's really in it for the long haul. He's putting his own money up. He's changed the uniforms. He's changed the footballs. He's doing all these different things to show the people of Billings, yes, we have a good product, because they went off. We beat them in basically the semifinals, and it was a tough game. He has a good football team. He's got good coaches. So,
well, that gives me some confidence at least, because, I mean, as you know, it's, man, after we lost them lost you guys the first time around, I lost all confidence in ever having a indoor football team that was going to at least stick around. Because then we had the Wolves for a little while, and I never had any confidence in that, and sure enough, it fell under. And then bringing back the Outlaws, although you're not really bringing back the Outlaws, you're kind of just rebranding and doing the same thing. But also, I will say, I was the first one to say they should just call them the Outlaws, because you already had people showing up to these Wolves games in Outlaws gear. And it's like, this is what everyone remembers. Like, you might as well just bring it. And they had all this merch still that must have just been hiding out in a warehouse somewhere. I'm like, why wouldn't you? Why wouldn't you? It's a great name. It's a great logo. I love I love everything about it.
Oh, yeah. And it reminds you of fun times. I mean, those years, because my first year was the year previous, they were called the Billings Mavericks when I was in Casper, and they went back to the Outlaw name my first year here in 2006, and they stuck with it through 2010. And if you look at that was 3 national championships within those 5 years. So people remember those teams, and that's what you need to piggyback on. So that's the one thing I can say about the ownership that did bring it back. They brought back the name as well, so people can be familiar with it. Now Steve has gotten a pretty decent start because it's only 2 games in, but he has a good heart. I know what he wants for the city of Billings, and I think he can bring it home and bring it back to respectability that people will say, hey, you go there, it's going to be a good football team, good game. It's going to be professionally ran. The merchandise is going to be there. I mean, you can see all the different things that they're doing around town. So he's putting his money where his mouth is, and that's something that's a good indicator that it's going in the right direction.
Well, that does give me a lot of confidence, and I do agree. I've noticed that too, because last year, I suppose, in the beginning, nobody would have ever known it was even here. Like, I didn't see any advertising, anything like that. Like, nobody was talking about it. Like, I knew it because I was just plugged in.
Right.
But if you were just a random person, you would have never known.
Yeah, I seen it. I knew it because I'm in the same league. But the only presence I seen previous to Steve Titus bring, because I wasn't here in the beginning, but the fair. They had a booth there and everything, and I seen some of the people there working and everything, and that was a little bit of exposure. But I didn't see much to piggyback off of that to carry him into the season. So now with Steve being here, and he sees, he's understanding what's going on. You can definitely see he's got a pulse of the city. Like I said, he's a lawyer, so he's a smart man. He's not no dummy by any means. Not to say that the other guy was or whatever, but
maybe. I'll go ahead and say it. I will say you don't gotta say it. I'll say it.
I think he's in it for the right reason, and I think you're gonna see the fruits of his labor. He's worked his butt off to get it to this point.
Right on. Well, hey, I am more than happy to hear that, because just to go back real quick, the old days, talking about remembering, like you said, people remember, and it's good memories. Those are some of the best memories I have in my life. I'm about to turn 30, and those still are some of the best memories I've had. Like we're talking 13 years ago, 12, 13 years. Because I was around for that first national championship. A little bit. I mean, I would have been in 6th grade if it was 2006, right? Or
2006.
Yeah. See, I would have been like 6th grade, so I was just kind of getting in there. The 2009, 2010, and even 2008, I was along for the ride that whole time. I'll show you later. I got a jersey with my name on it. I've got several signed balls still.
Right.
Because I was in high school when all that was going down. So
gotcha.
And I've always been a football fan. I never played, but I've always just been a fan. And there was a point in my life where, obviously, I'm a big Broncos fan.
Oh, yeah. I see.
There was a time I considered myself a bigger Outlaws fan than a Broncos fan.
Wow.
Because being there, experiencing those games live, of course, and it's your hometown. You got the hometown pride. It was everything for me at that time. And I got to go out on the field many times, like Tim Brown.
Oh, yeah?
Yeah, me and Tim Brown were pretty cool together, and he pulled me down there for my birthday one year. I got to run out on both championship games.
There you go.
Onto the field. Yeah. And, like, that just, I don't know, I guess it seems weird thinking about high school and being so giddy about something like that, but it really is. It was a huge sticking point in my life, just like a big memory. I remember running into those guys just at the store and them just being like, "Hey, it's you," I mean, right. I didn't expect them to remember my name. You know what I mean? I'm just some guy. I'm a fan, but they remembered me.
Exactly. But I mean, that's what that's here for. Yes, it is a very small city, but you can have big dreams, understanding like the impact of what that football team did for you as a kid. Imagine all the thousands of others that actually felt that same way.
Yeah.
And put it in that esteem, So I'm glad to hear that type stuff, because I mean, that's what you're in it for, Yes, we're here to entertain, but we also here to be, role models. And, some of those guys did go on. Tim Brown went on to the CFL, won a Grey Cup, and I think it was Special Teams Player of the Year as a returner. And, to be a part of that run with him, playing those 5-6 years up there in the CFL, he started right here with the Billings Outlaws.
Yeah, and to your credit, built a great team. You and the owners, everybody involved. But that, not only a great team, but retained a lot of those players for both those championship games.
Well, and a lot of that has to do, like you just said, ownership. Because if you don't have great ownership to understand that you got some great players here and you're trying to keep that core together, sometimes you would be at different situations where the ownership, they don't realize what they have. They think that this is going to be like this every year, and you run across certain players that are special, and not just special on the field, but off the field, and how they galvanize other men. And as a coach, you see that. Those are the players you really want to retain. But you don't retain them by just offering them the most money. It's how you treat them. And if we didn't have great ownership group, here in Billings, those guys wouldn't have came back. And when you got a leader like Chris Dixon, Bazemore, Baze is still here. I seen him probably about 3 weeks ago.
Well, he's the athletic
at MSUB here.
Yeah.
Yes.
Which is awesome.
Yeah. So I seen him, doing his thing. Chris Turner's still up here.
I see
doing his thing.
Mania Smith, he comes into Toyota. I think he gets his service done at Toyota.
Yep, he's still here. Nolan is at Lithia Dodge. I bought 3 cars from Nolan, so they're still here. Fontez Jefferson is still here. I seen him at the hamburger place out here right off Grand. So it's good to see that these guys actually not just came out here to play football, but they started their families here, got married, have kids, and things of that nature that are here. Jaquan Brackenridge, he's here, all of these different guys that you see. And then you follow him on Facebook. I mean, like James Walton, he just had his kid.
I saw that.
I think it was yesterday or today or something.
Yeah,
so, just things like that, where I remember when I had my little Bambino running around with me, and they look and be like, oh, maybe one day, and wow, now they have kids. So it's kind of crazy how that all works out.
It's crazy because I remember Chris Dixon's kids. Like, you remember how they used to do those
intros?
Well, the family days.
Oh yeah,
or it was like a fan day, I guess is what it was, over at the Sportsplex. And I went to all those and saw everybody hanging out, playing games and stuff. And I remember Chris's kids. One of them was in a 3-point stance and stuff. And I'm pretty sure that kid is
tearing it up in Arizona,
playing ball. Yeah,
at the quarterback position. So one of the top
that makes me
quarterbacks in the nation. He's a freshman this year. So if it make you feel, how do you think it make me?
I mean, yeah. Well, fair enough. But yeah, so it's crazy when you, like you said, that people starting their roots here, and it does kind of speak a little bit to the state and the city. Like you stayed here, and a lot of the guys, I see them around town and stuff. I'll go up to them and be like, "You were an outlaw, weren't you?" And they're like, "Yes, I was. I was there. Yeah. I remember it all." Like, God, yeah, good times, man. I want to. So we've kind of touched on a little bit here and there of your Oh. This thing. Hang on. It's going to make a noise. There we go. Am I back? Okay. God, I just barely touched this thing and it goes out, I swear. That's the one thing. Okay, it's good. Everything's good. We touched on a few of the things you've, throughout your career, the stepping points. Let's start from the beginning and kind of run down the timeline. So Let's go all the way back to youth, when football first got introduced to you. Did you come from a football household, or was it something that you kind of fell into?
It was more, yes, my dad is the one that put the football in the crib, the baseball in the crib. My father played in the Negro Leagues, baseball. He played second base, and then he also played in center field or whatever. So baseball is what he really wanted me to do. So I started off with baseball. I had to be, third grade, where my glove was big as my body, so to say. So I did that for 2 or 3 years. And then I think when I went to 6th grade, 5th or 6th grade is when I started football. And my mom did not want me to play because, yes, I'm a bigger guy now, but put it this way. As a freshman in high school, I was 5 foot and I was like 90 pounds. So playing against those big old boys when I was playing grammar school ball, it was different, but I was good. And we won, our little area championship, and we went up and played on the north side of Chicago for the city championship. We won that 3 years in a row. Then they kicked us out of that league. We went to Kankakee, which is, I think it's south of Chicago, about 50 miles outside of Chicago. We went down there, started dominating that league, and then I went to Chicago, Mount Carmel, and that's where I say that changed my life. My parents made major sacrifices for me to go to that school because it was not cheap. A Catholic school in the city of Chicago, it was very, very expensive, and they took a lot of L's and things they wanted to do to make sure I got that opportunity to go there. But there I learned, because I'm not trying to be racist or anything, but I stayed it was all black people where I lived at. Going to Mount Carmel, it's 75% white. So it was the first time I've ever been around white people and things of that nature. And it was just different.
Cultural shock.
Yeah. And then just how they think and how they talk and their aspirations. And it gave me, it made me a better person, because instead of seeing the guys on the street and, hey, what's up? This is what your life is going to be. That's where I got the goal of, all of my friends in high school, they going to college. Maybe I can go to college. My parents never went. I mean, they did a little college here and there, but never had real aspirations right out of high school to go to college. Neither one of my parents did that. They did it later on in life. So to have that, it changed my life. I'm not going to sit and lie to you. It changed my life on, who I am as a person is who you make, what you make of it. And I got the same chance that these kids got. We're in the same school. Why can't I do the same thing? And so from there, I went on to, we won, 3 state championships in my 4 years that I was in Mount Carmel. My high school quarterback, the most famous one, Mike McGrew, went on to play at Northwestern. He won, I think he won 4 straight state titles in a row, because he was 2 years older than me. And then the quarterback my senior year was Donovan McNabb from the Philadelphia Eagles. My junior year, I played with Simeon Rice, who played with the Arizona Cardinals and the Tampa Bay. He won a Super Bowl with the Buccaneers. I beat Antoine Walker. Antoine Walker went to my high school. He was a year under me. He was Donovan's age. But we had a 3-point contest for who's the best 3-point shooter in the school, and I beat him. Wow. That's my little claim to fame, that I beat some pretty good dudes. But in basketball, Donovan, I had a basketball hoop in my backyard. He used to come over there and just dominate. He was a freakish athlete, 40-something vertical leap, and he was bigger. He was probably about 210 in high school. 6'3", so he was put together.
Yeah.
And this dude was a freak of nature. But I played with all of these guys, and when the scholarships started getting drolled out or whatever, because Twan and them were a year under me. But to see Simeon Rice and Matt Cushion and Toriano Woods, all these guys went to high school with me to get a scholarship to University of Illinois. And Joe Glass, he went to, I think, Southwest Missouri State. I went to Western Michigan. We had a bunch of guys that went all over the place. And but if I never went to Mount Carmel, I don't think I would have strived to get a scholarship. I don't think I would even... I've been a regular Joe. I probably would have played football somewhere, but not thought much about it after high school. So
it definitely helps when you're surrounded by guys like that who are pushing each other and, you know, competition, whatnot. And I'm sure that it must have had a pretty good faculty aspect of it too.
Right,
if you're getting guys recruited.
Yeah, see, that's the thing. That's the piece that I'm the most proud of, is because, like my father said, if you're good, they'll find you. But I'm just saying, just as a freshman, I was, like I said, I was 5 foot, 90 pounds. I didn't think, college football. I was just loving being around people that were positive, that were doing positive things with their life. So that was more important to me than the actual football, because those are the things I instill in my kids now. My son, he'll be, next year be his last year. He's at New Hampshire playing football up there. So my daughter, she's a cheerleader. We're getting ready to go to Arizona here in a week or so to go out there with her for her competitive cheer. So it's in their blood, but just to tell them it's a different way than just being on them streets is the thing that I learned at Mount Carmel, and it changed my life right there. But from there, I did get the scholarship to go to Western Michigan. My true freshman year, I was redshirted. That's what he believed in. He believed in that. You probably don't remember him, but Joe Paterno. At Penn State. He just believed that every freshman should be redshirted. So, which was a good thing for me. As I tell the story, you understand. So, like I said, I grew a foot in 1 year.
Dang.
In high school. I grew 2 inches in college. So I went from 5 foot to 6 foot basically in a 1 year span. And that's why my knees, Oscar Slaughter, where your bones and ligaments grow, one grows slower and you got just pain, just major pain.
For sure.
But I had the athleticism of a smaller guy, but I hit that growth spurt right between my sophomore and junior year. And then that's when I was introduced to weights. Like, that's when we started lifting weights and the weight started to come on. But I still was small as a freshman. In college, I was only 170 pounds or something like that, 165 pounds. And I was 6 foot. But then during that year, I grew 2 inches, and then I got up to about 185, 190 pounds in my redshirt year. And when I came back, I still had 4 years of eligibility. And, God, it was like paving ways for me. But I started off basically as the nickel the first 2-3 games. The left corner went down. Marcus, he went down for at least 5-6 games. So I was starting at the left corner spot. And then Tristan Moss, who was the other corner, he got banged up a little bit where I went over there and played. So I got lucky my freshman year to start all those games because of injury and got in there and got the experience. Yeah. But then from there, I started the rest of my career at Western Michigan. And I was honorable mention my senior year. I led the MAC conference and pass breakups. I did go to the NFL combine, the real one, not the mess that they be talking about now where everybody has a combine. But I'm talking about the one that's in Indianapolis, the real one. That was the first time I seen, what's his name? Ray Rhodes. He was I think the D coordinator for the Philadelphia Eagles. And I've never had a coach, because when you go through the combine, you don't just work out, you have interviews with the different teams. And I just remember him, how he was talking. It was like, this dude is crazy. What is going on? Hey, what's your, I'm like, calm down, man. Like, you just asked what cover 2 is. 2 shell, you explain it, and it was just weird of how intense he was. And then to look and see, what's his name? Mike Ditka. As we're warming up doing our thing, all the coaches are on this side of they're in the stands, but they're on this side. Ditka, and that's when he was with the Saints, was on the other side. by itself, he wasn't paying no attention to what they were doing as far as 40-yard dash, 20-yard shuttle, and all that. When he got up and started paying attention when we were doing the drills, that's what he paid attention to. And it stuck with me for whatever reason, because it was just, he was the only team over there. I think it was only 28 teams at that point, were on the other side. And I just like, what the heck? And, I'm a Chicago Bear fan. I grew up in Chicago, and he was the Bears coach. And
yeah.
I just remember a lot of things he would say in interviews and things. Everybody looked good in T-shirts and shorts, but that don't matter. It mattered when you got that helmet and shoulder pads on. That's when I'm evaluating. And then it all tied in and made sense of why he didn't really care for the combine. Look at that film. And that kind of is how I am now. I don't care how fast you ran a 40 and all that. The only time that's important is when I'm trying to sell the player to the upper leagues. I don't care anything about that, because some of my best players didn't run a 4.340.
Right.
Chris Dixon didn't run a 4.340. Best indoor football player of all time.
Yeah.
He didn't run a 4.3, but you put that film on, nobody ever caught him.
Right. Yeah.
I
mean, like you said before too, it's sometimes what's between the ears and between the shoulder pads.
Exactly, and that's where it came from. Though that's when I saw that it kind of struck me. But
also Ditka was kind of just watching Ricky Williams.
Yeah, because this whole draft was on that one
he
guy.
wanted.
He didn't care about anybody else. So, yeah, it was just different to see that piece, that aspect, and then to go through the draft process and all the agents that come at you and
I bet
promise
it's
you the world. And I just, no offense to the guys that I did or didn't choose, but now where my son is potentially getting ready to go through that next year, I have a little bit more experience of what to tell him. Some of the potential pitfalls that I took, don't just look at the name, look what the guy can do for you, and not just you, people like you, meaning, are you going to be a high draft pick? Then yes, the guy that I went with, Steve Zucker, that was my first agent. He had Richmond Webb, Carl Pickens. I think he had Deion Sanders for a while. I'm looking at that, and instead of looking at, it was a guy by the name of Steve Weinberg. I remember when he came up, he flew up from Texas. He came to the house, and he had he had a suitcase, but he had all these pieces of paper and stuff all over the floor, and he just going this, he doing this. And that turned my family off, because everybody else was that was when computers first kind of came out. So it was spreadsheet here, look at this pie chart, and that impressed my parents. It impressed me. But in hindsight, that guy that had all the papers all over the floor and doing, he had 25 players that he had represented in his time that played in the NFL that were undrafted free agents or 6th or 7th round draft picks. That's the guy I should have went with right there. No offense to Steve Zucker, love him. He did a great job for me, but I think that guy could have did better, because he was used to dealing with where I'm going to be in the draft.
Right.
And that's what a lot of kids, they don't look at, they look at who they rep instead of, are you one of those? Are you a 1st or 2nd round pick? I wasn't. Mm-hmm. So it really wasn't a good fit. And I moved on to a couple of different agents, 3-4 different agents, but in my pro career, NFL career, the time with Jacksonville was lovely.
Is that who you got drafted by?
Well, no, undrafted free agent.
Oh, that's right.
Yeah. So
that's who you went to?
Yeah, I went down there. And the thing that's kind of funny is Tom Coughlin was the head coach there. Mm-hmm. He had a linebacker coach. I cannot think of his name, but when I was coming out of high school, he came to visit me, to recruit me to Boston College to play receiver, but I was DB, so I didn't want to hear what he was talking about. That same guy was on his staff.
Oh, wow.
At Jacksonville. So, and when we did our, our spring private workout or whatever before your senior season, Tim Mingy is the scout's name. I don't know if he's still doing it or not, but I ran a 4.34 for him, and I did a 40-inch vertical. So I knew Jacksonville was definitely in the hunt to pick me up. So when the draft started and everything, I'm all excited. They had people there and all of this other stuff. In the second round, after they drafted Donovan Darius in the first round, as well as Fred Taylor. They had 2 first-round picks. Second round, they drafted Cordell Taylor, which was a corner from Hampton, and I get a call from Perry Fuel, Jacksonville Jaguars. I'm like,
oh, man.
I'm sitting here. Hello? Yeah. Okay. All right. We're not going to pick another DB until we pick you. And that's all he said. And he hung up the phone, and I'm like, I thought that was my call, but hey, they thinking of me.
And then you're on the leash a little bit.
And then I'm looking like, okay, I'm not getting picked. Third round, fourth round. I was like, well, fifth round, sixth round, seventh round.
That's where you're projected, right?
Exactly.
Yeah.
So I was like, I'm more ready for that, but it didn't happen. But after the draft, I had a call from Jacksonville was first, obviously. They called first, and they offered the most money. So that's why I went with them. But I did get offered, before I signed the contract, it was the Jets, because Bill Parcells actually, he was at a couple of our practices in the summer. So I saw him out there. Who's this other one? Was Arizona Cardinals. So those were the three teams that gave me an offer after, I'm talking about, when they say Mr. Irrelevant, the phone started going crazy and call waiting, and I'm like,
well, and I'm
what's
sure
going on?
in the case where Jacksonville called you, they probably were watching the board and they were like, you know what, I bet you we can just get this guy after.
Mm-hmm. I don't have to pay him that type money.
Well, and in that case, they're kind of taking a chance, because obviously if they draft you, they definitely got you. Mm-hmm. If it's undrafted, then you have the options are kind of on yours,
right?
If you're getting multiple calls, that is. But
exactly.
But they already knew that you had
they hooked me, because I mean, like I said, with that private workout, and I ran that 4.34 40-inch vertical. They were there to see that, and I was like, no other team came to that,
right?
So I kind of knew, and then they were because I dislocated my right shoulder my senior year, and I missed, I think, a game or so. And they came the 1 week when I was in a sling, and they was like, hey,
what's up with that?
I noticed you didn't play last week. Oh, it's just, I'll be good. This. Wasn't expecting to see you in a sling. I was like, I could take this off. I was like, that's just precautionary. So you playing this week? I was like, absolutely. I was like, just stay for practice. You'll see what's going on. So I couldn't practice or anything, but when it was time to run them wind sprints and all that stuff and the conditioning, I'm out there with a sling, still outrunning everybody out there. And I think that showed him something like, you know what? This dude he hasn't played in a week or so, but he's still out here with his team. He's still working hard, and he's out working all these dudes that got two arms. I had one arm, and I'm out there running around.
Right.
So I kind of knew, my agent knew that was going to be the team. And it was just exciting, but it was also the first bout of depression I've had. Oh. Because I was expected to get drafted.
And that in and itself is just an accomplishment.
Yes.
I'm sure. Especially when you're like on the line, you're like, you feel it coming and then it doesn't.
It doesn't happen. And I went to, before, like I just ran to my room. I remember I ran upstairs, I ran in my room, and I put the pillow over my head. And all you could hear is the phone ringing. But my mom is answering the phone, and she's like, get down here. You got to get down here. She's screaming, and I'm like, get this. Who is this? Hello? Hey, this is blah, blah, blah from the Jacksonville Jaguars. Just saying, if you got the contract we just faxed you, and we need to get that back as soon as possible because other teams are going to start calling. Oh, wow.
Yeah.
Jeez. Okay. And my agent was like, yes, you want this deal right here, blah, 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 blah. Then the other team called. They throw they offer. Another team called. They throw they offer before I was even out the door. And I'm like, wow. So I went from about to shed a tear, like I'm depressed. I was depressed for like probably just 20 seconds. Because when you get that call, you finna go to the NFL. You don't worry about nothing else. I was like, I'm cool. And I sent the contract in. They sent the basically the itinerary of what your spring and summer are going to look like. Here's your flight to Jacksonville because you got to go to rookie minicamp, and nothing's guaranteed.
What year was this?
98?
Okay, so
it was the year after the Denver Bronco deal where they beat the Denver Broncos, and it was a year after.
Oh, yeah.
It was a year
with
after.
Brian Greasy.
Yeah.
So and this would have been
the number one seed or something, and I came the year after that.
Okay, and that's Jacksonville's like what, second year?
Second year in existence.
Yeah.
Yep. So that was the year that I came in, and but they give you all these crazy workouts that you had to do and understand these different drills that I've never seen before, and so I'm training, doing all this stuff, and I was like, well, I still got, a semester of school left, so I'm doing my schooling and everything. And I finished up my schooling, and then I'm like, well, all I had left was an intern. And I was like, I ain't worried about no intern. I'm going to get down here. I went down there to mini camp. I balled. I did well. Then you kind of sit in the locker room and you kind of pray that, okay, did I make it to training camp? Or because there's no guarantee. Now, draft picks, yes, it's a guarantee. They're going to go to rookie mini camp, then they'll go to training camp. As an undrafted free agent, you don't even have a real locker. Like in Jacksonville, the lockers, it's like a big old U.
Mm.
The real players, so to say, or the draft picks, or the Brunells of the world,
the ones that are guaranteed to play,
they're in that U. Then it's an island, and it's about 25 lockers there, and I'm in one of those.
Mm-hmm.
And you can see each day after rookie minicamp, you see the little thing hanging out their locker. Well, that dude got cut. You don't see him no more. This guy get cut. So I made it all the way through that last day, and I'm just sitting here like, oh, please, God, I got to make it at least to training camp, man. Made it through training camp, did my thing there, to the point that they at least remembered me. But I did get cut. Once I got cut, they brought me back, but they brought me back practice squad.
Mm-hmm.
So I stayed pretty much the year on practice squad down there and seen a lot of cool things and understood a lot of football. But the D coordinator, Dick Geron, took a liking to me because I was always I hate to cuss, but kiss ass. It was just more so, I want to know what you're thinking. Why are you calling these plays? And he's like him and Dick LeBeau were the key of the fire zones. That was a new fad in the NFL. So I was infatuated because we ran a little bit of that in college, but this dude was phenomenal with this. So learned that playbook backwards and forward, but I kind of was asking him different things, would stay after and this and that. Didn't think nothing of it. They send me to NFL Europe to the Berlin Thunder. That was cool. It was all right. Come back, Jacksonville cuts me again. And I'm like, what the?
Especially after, yeah.
So I was like, okay, whatever. I go back to Chicago, sitting around thinking, somebody's going to pick me up. Nobody was calling. Nothing was popping. I'm doing more calling to my agent. What's going on? My father see that the Bears had just hired a new coach. And his name is Dick Geron, same guy. So long story short, when we played my last, I think it was the last or the second to last preseason game, I introduced my father to Dick Geron, called him out the crowd. We getting on the bus to go to the airport, and I call him down and I introduce him because he's a big Pittsburgh Steelers fan. So I introduced him to Leon Searcy, Baselli, Deion Figures, Dave Thomas, all the dudes that I hung out with. But I also introduced him to Dick Geron. And my father saw this. He didn't tell me nothing. He went to this event, this charity event or whatever it was. He talks to Dick Geron. He comes back and he was like, hey, you got a workout next week. You better be ready. And I'm like, what are you talking about, man?
He set you up a workout.
He got it all set up. My agent didn't do that. My daddy did that.
Right.
So I did the workout. I think I ran, 4.48, 4.5 flat, which nothing impressive as far as DB, but it was all right.
I mean, it's pretty good still.
Yeah, but it wasn't a 4.34 or whatever. But it was still good enough that they said, we'll bring you in. So they brought me into training camp and off-season training. So I'm doing all this, and to them, it was a new system, new defense. So I already knew the defense because it was the same defense I had the year before. So I'm helping some of the vet guys. And then Chris Hudson came over as well, who was a Thorpe Award winner, University of Colorado. But he was a starting free safety for Jacksonville for 5 years. So we're helping these other guys learn the thing, but basically didn't realize at the point I'm helping these dudes take money off my table because at the end of that, I got cut too.
Ah, shit.
So, but I did get a pick in a game. It was against Joe Germain that played at Ohio State. He was with the Rams. I did get a pick, but I did get cut. But I was like, hey, at least I got an NFL pick. And
so this is past preseason?
No, this is preseason when that happened. And
Okay.
then I got released from there. Then I played, 2 years with the Milwaukee Mustangs, Arena 1 football.
Okay.
Then I went and played a year or two of A2. I played in the Mohican Wolves that's in New London, Connecticut. And then we played, my last year was the Green Bay Blizzard.
Okay.
That's where I tore this shoulder up and it ended my career. I had to have 3 separate shoulder surgeries on this and got like 8 screws, two plates in there. So that was the end of my football.
Okay, so what year was that? When
2003 was the end of it for me. And I went back to, I was dealing with a girl at this time that she wanted to go to Michigan State, but I met her in Green Bay. So I was like, well, shoot, I got an intern I got to do. Michigan State and Lansing, Michigan, and Kalamazoo is about an hour apart. I'll drive down there, get my paperwork started, and I'll do my intern. So I at least got my degree. So I did that. I got my degree, and the agent that I had at the time, he was he was trying to get me to be an NFL scout.
Okay.
And I was like, yeah, I don't know. You know, I really didn't have a strong feeling, but I didn't have negative feelings in it because it was not like somebody was knocking my door down because all I knew was football. So long story short, that was in December. January comes around. My agent was like, hey, I got a perfect opportunity for you. Defensive coordinator, recruiting coordinator for the Wyoming Cavalry. I was like, what? Coaching? What?
So that never even crossed your mind?
Never. And I was like... well,
even though you had already been coaching up those guys
but that's where it started. It clicked once I got down there. Because I asked him, I was like, well, what city is that? He was like, Casper. I was like, man, do you know I'm a black man? I'm living in Casper. What are you talking about? But once I went down there and I started coaching these kids up, it made me feel like when I was with the Bears and teaching, like Jerry Azuma, that's my dude right there. He went on, he played at University of New Hampshire as well as a running back, but he went to the Bears in the 5th round that same year that I was there, and he became a starting corner. But just, you know, bouncing different, the plays off of him and things of that nature. And that's what it made me feel like when I was in Wyoming coaching. I'm like, man, so all this was this God put me in these different things. It wasn't to be an NFL football player. It was to be a coach. He was grooming me the whole time. I just didn't understand it at the time of when I was going through it. But now, 18 years into being a coach, I see now why he put me in those situations, and he put me across some pretty good dudes. I mean, Tom Coughlin, he went on to 2 Super Bowls. Dick Geron, I mean, a legendary, you know, defensive coordinator in the NFL, and Perry Fuel, he went on to be a head coach in the NFL. And, you know, just being around those different people helped me groom myself without me even knowing it. Mm-hmm. That's how magical God is and how powerful he already know what you're going to be and how it's all going to turn out. He's just molding you and you don't even know it. So,
well, yeah, and that's crazy because obviously at that time you have these aspirations of being a player, mm-hmm. and little did you know that all these steps were being made to build you as a coach, which you end up being extremely successful at.
Exactly, and didn't even know I was going to be a coach. I mean, I had no aspirations
never
to be a coach.
Never crossed your mind at all, you know, and
was then not what I was trying to be.
We're right, but it turns out you're really, really good at it.
Yeah, because that's why, like I always tell people, because I know you said at the end of the show, you say something, a saying or something that you kind of live by. And my thing is, take each opportunity and give it 100, because you never know where it's going to derive to. I took a leap of faith, something different, because I was just basically hanging out in Chicago and back in Lansing with my group, just bouncing back and forth, really wasn't motivated to do anything. And when they called with that opportunity, I took that opportunity and I gave it everything I had. I was like, I coached like, if I don't do well this year, I'm not going to eat, which is the truth as a coach. But that's how I think even as a player. I think that way. And I gave it everything I had. Dan Austin and Wally Jovetic and Mike Parnell, those are the 3 owners, and Adam Stedman. They remember me when I was at Casper. That's how I got the job in Billings.
Okay.
Because I was cleaning the locker room up and picking towels up and stuff like this here. And they, hey, we need this. And I would hook them up and do all this stuff. And they was like, we just liked the way you worked. Like, the game was over, you cleaning locker rooms up. I was picking jocks and stuff up. I don't think anything is beneath me. You know, if the coach asks me to do it, I'm going to do it. I'm not going to volunteer to pick up jocks, but I mean, if you tell me this is what you need me to do, that's what I'm going to do.
Right.
And I did that, and that's how I got the job here in Billings, is because of, we did beat Billings for the first time. We swept them in Casper. That was the first time that's ever happened, and we did it in a fashion where we had a couple pick sixes for touchdowns, so the defense did really well, and that's how I got the job here. So, I mean, you never know what that opportunity is going to turn into, so don't ever half-ass it. Give it everything you got, and gotta take care of the rest.
Well, yeah, and you never know who's watching.
Exactly.
Like in that situation, you're on the opposing team, and you're outperforming, and they're looking at that like, oh,
that's a good quality to have. And I'm just thinking I'm doing my job,
right?
But
also when you do your job at a high level, that definitely helps too.
Oh yeah,
but you can't do your job at a high level if you don't put
maximum
all of it
effort,
right?
Exactly.
Yeah.
So I mean, that's just something that I live by. And every step I took, I love challenges. I love playing chess. Puzzle. I love that type stuff. So Casper, I think we're 4-10 the year before I got there. I think we turned it around to we were like the number 3 seed, which was amazing turnaround. Then I go to Billings. The year before they were, what were they? I think like 1-14. They were the Mavericks. They were terrible. And
so bad they changed the name and rebranded.
Yes.
Well, what's funny is they were the Outlaws before that even too. So it's changed. It's gone Outlaws, Mavericks, Outlaws, Wolves, Outlaws.
Yep. So I mean, it was just crazy. So I took the job in Billings, another reclamation. I know what I can do if I have the correct tools. Turned Billings around. We won the championship the very next year. Mm-hmm. And then leave here. We go to Colorado. I think they were 6-8 that year. When I get there, we went on a run. We were like 8-0 starting off that next season with me on their staff. I was just a D coordinator then. But then I'm getting ready to leave to go to another team, and I got offered something I couldn't refuse. Tom Wigley was like, no, I'm not letting you go, and I'm going to make you the head coach. And again, there's another opportunity that I did maximum. I gave maximum effort, and they saw it. And nobody's ever given me anything. I was warranted those different opportunities I got. So I did that. Went on and had a pretty good, I was coach of the year in 2014 and, turned that whole program around. Then I left there because the owner had cancer. So he shut the team down and everything. And that's when we moved back here. And I went to Dodge City because I was like, well.
And where's that at?
In Kansas, Dodge City. Okay. Went there for a year just as a D coordinator again, a recruiting coordinator. And we turned that whole thing around. So from there, Salina called and, hey, we want you to be our head coach. What do you think? And I'm looking like, it's not like anything else happened. I might as well give it a shot. And look what happened with that. So I'm very humble. I'm very thankful, and I'm very blessed. God has really blessed me, and he's shown me different avenues that I didn't even think I was even possible that I'll ever see, let alone get accomplished. So I give a lot of thanks to him. My parents, I give a lot of thanks to them as well. So my wife for putting up with everything, being gone, doing this, in and out. We're in a family meal, and I'm on the phone recruiting and all of that type stuff. I mean, I have a lot of people to thank to be, a successful coach.
For sure. Well, and it helps when you have like a stable group around you and people who are supportive, people who are, when you got that strong
support group there.
Absolutely.
Yeah, because you couldn't do it without it. You couldn't. I mean, because with my daughter and her being here and I'm there, like, it wouldn't work the same if it was any other way. So just by her understanding, like, it's a good paying job. I love what I do. She has a job. She loves what she does. So now we understand, like, it's passion that we put into this, that if we work together, we can make this thing work. And it's worked out pretty good.
For sure. So moving forward, what's the future hold? Obviously, you have a pretty good extension with the Liberty. Mm-hmm. You see yourself, how long do you think you keep doing it?
Well, I want to go at least another 15 is what I want to go.
I mean, you have the resume to do it, man.
Yeah, and
also,
you just got to keep winning. That's the key.
Haven't even mentioned this, IFL Hall of Famer.
Yeah.
And congratulations on that. That was just a couple years ago, right?
Yeah, 2021, inducted to the Indoor Football League Hall of Fame. One of 3 coaches to ever get in there. So definitely happy about that. And I never thought that would happen either, but, God, like I said, God has blessed me to put me on the right path, surround me with the right people. And, he gave me a gift. I
was
never
gonna say,
knew
you've done your part too,
Yeah, I just never knew that was even a gift. I thought my gift was my 4.3 speed, my 40-inch vertical, my athletic ability. I never thought about just coaching Ackerman and making adjustments quickly and how chess helps with that and understanding different things that I do that incorporates all of that stuff to be a successful coach. So, like I said, God he's molded, he pushed things out the way for me to go through this specific path. And like I said, I took full advantage of it. Every opportunity I ever have gotten, I've gave it maximum effort. And most of the time, it's worked out. I can't say I'm batting 1,000. I'm not. But I'm batting about 800 on the moves that I made.
Doing pretty good. One more question, and then I'll let you get out of here. I want to ask you some of your top favorite moments as a coach. Now, real quick, before, I'm going to give you mine.
Okay.
Because not only is this, obviously you were the coach at the time, and you made the call, but this is by and far the greatest football game I've ever seen, not only in person, not only on TV, but in fiction or real life. It is the greatest game I've ever seen in my life. Billings Outlaws versus the Sioux Falls Storm. Regular season football game.
Mm-hmm.
Now, this has been a while, so as I recall it, we were losing by a couple touchdowns.
Mm-hmm.
A few things go our way. Michael Leby gets an interception, turn that into a touchdown. I think we got another interception, turn that into a touchdown. Ties the game. You could go for a field goal. Instead, you make the bold call to go for 2. Chris Dixon touchdown to who was it?
Willie Austin.
Willie Austin. Yep.
That's one of mine as well. But it was Tough Johnson that actually picked it off. This was before EB.
But EB did get one before, right?
Mm-mm. Oh, okay. Because this was in 08.
Okay.
This was the first time we ever beat Sioux Falls. Sioux Falls used to drag us.
Correct.
07, they drug us. We went down there, they drug us. This was the first time we ever beat them. So
okay, I'm mixing up a couple games there.
Yeah, but that moment right there, too, just...
It swung the game.
Because if we don't go for 2, just think what happened after that. We kick off. It's 4 seconds left. They line up to kick a 56-yard field goal and miss it by like a foot.
Well, not only that, though.
I'm like, oh my.
On the kickoff, they didn't get any return. Mm-hmm. Like, the kick was in the perfect spot. Basically stopped them within the 5 yards.
Exactly.
So they had to kick a full field.
And barely missed it. And I'm like,
it
wow.
was by far the greatest game I've ever seen, ever.
Oh, yeah. It was definitely, I've never been a part of a game like that in my life.
And that wasn't even the championship.
No, but it was my championship at the moment.
Well, like you said.
We had won a championship previous in 06, but that was like a championship game because it was like a heavyweight bout. Big punches being thrown, and we were against the ropes.
And they were the juggernaut.
Exactly. They won tons of games. They won championships, and the big bad wolf of the UIF. They won every championship in that league. You know, so to do that, and everybody's like, they always try to figure out what's your secret sauce. How did you know to go? Everything is just a gut feel. I don't know, because if you think of it,
I get goosebumps just thinking about it.
18 years I've coached. How many times have I went for 2 in my career? That's a good trivia question, but I guarantee it's not over 7.
Right.
7 or 8. I don't go for 2, but it was something in me that said, you know what? Go for 2 and make them try to kick this long field goal to win.
Because there was only like 5 seconds left or something like that.
And then we kicked off. He caught it. I think it only took a second. We were down there, and then they kicked that long field goal. And I'm looking. I'm like, oh, it's right on target.
Oh,
it's on. It's short.
Oh, I don't think you've heard the metric get louder. Even with concerts, like that, because at that point we're all invested. Like we're the whole city's invested.
And I think that's what kind of springboarded us into the IFL in 2009 to do what we did, because I think we're the only team that's ever done this. We swept Sioux Falls in the season. Nobody's ever swept Sioux Falls in the season. We beat them at home, and we beat them by double digits at home, at their place, and we beat them at our place. So, and when we beat them at our place, we beat them by 25 points. So it's not many teams that can say they did that to Sioux Falls and the Coach Riggs coach team, because you talking about the GOAT. He's the GOAT. I mean, he's got, almost 10 national championships. To go and get that win, that was the springboard for us having the confidence to know, they beat us in the Western Conference semifinal game, not the championship, but to go to the championship that same year in 2008, but they never beat us again in Billings. That was the game that turned everything around, and I'll never forget that.
And then even essentially capping off that era of the Outlaws with a championship against the Storm. Granted,
that last play.
I mean, yeah, absolutely.
Yeah.
Absolutely.
They run a jet sweep to Lorenzo, who was playing receiver. He dives over the top. He gets caught by Big Jack. Big Jack holds him up, but their line comes and gives a surge like they're going to push him into the end zone, and Big Chris Turner grabs him and slings him down. Game over. I think we win by 8 or something, and I'm like, woo!
Well, and then having to do it at the Sportsplex too. Like,
yes.
I'll give everybody who was involved in that a lot of credit for being able to make that into a venue.
Oh yeah, our owners were very creative to make that into a game. Like, they had TVs outside, they had the jumpy jack for the kids and refreshments, and it was crazy.
Quick story on that. So it wasn't the championship game; it was a playoff game leading into the championship game.
Tri-City or was it Amarillo?
I don't remember exactly.
Or Arkansas, because that was when we had a bunch of playoff games that year.
But my sister used to be a manager at McDonald's. She used to give me a bunch of free coffee drink coupons. Mm-hmm. I drank like 3 of them before the game. Sheesh. And I'm sitting outside like jittery waiting in line because I'm nervous and excited, and also I got all this caffeine. I'm like, I don't know, 16, and so I'm just like jittery, but
right.
I mean, once it was in there, it worked. It worked to be able to play it there with all the tornado stuff and all that.
Absolutely. And I mean, you got to give kudos to the city for coming out and supporting that.
Of course.
To come in there, and because it's not the ideal venue to be in compared to the big old Metro, but the ownership group to have these people come in, do these measurements, because we're seeing people measure and say, well, what are they doing? Where are we going to play at? Do we got to go to Sioux Falls? What's happening? For them to have that vision to do that, I mean, that's what I'm talking about, ownership. It's not always about how much money they pay you in the play. What do you do when things are against you? What are you going to do to make it better for not just me, the team? And they did it. And I know that cost some money to put all that stuff together, but it was well worth it. Because look what, it gave memories that's going to go generation down to generations. Because, I mean, to win a national championship at home, that's huge. Like, you'll never forget that, Yeah. I know I won't. I don't forget any of them.
Well, actually, on that note, I do have one more question.
Mm-hmm.
Seeing as how you did just win your 4th championship,
mm-hmm.
What's a night after a championship look like?
Oh, wow. It was a little different because my daughter was still up there, so I couldn't party the way I really wanted to party. But we went back to the Blind Pig, which is our after-game sponsor, and the owners bought 3 cratefuls of champagne.
Oh, wow.
And I'm unaware of all of that.
Okay.
That's out. It's because it's the inside and then it's the outside patio piece. So I take the cup, the national championship cup, and it's huge. It's probably about 3 feet tall or so with a big old cup on the top of it. I throw, 5 5 Long Islands in there.
Oh,
drinks,
man.
boom, 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 boom. So these dudes, my players, they thinking they finna sip on some beer or whatever, because that's what we did for the first cup a couple years before that to get to the championship. So they hit that, and just to see their faces when they find out, like, that's Long Island iced tea, they go, whoa, coach, what are you trying to do? And then people start spraying the bottles of the champagne. So we got our new championship T-shirts on. So they spraying and doing all. I'm like, oh my, like, stop. And coaching, the players taking their stuff all off. They clothes and stuff. And I'm sitting there, and then our fans are sitting there, and you can see they wanted to be like involved. So I was like, give me the cup. Give me the cup. Took the cup from the players, and we passed it around to each and every fan that was there, so they can take pictures.
Oh, cool.
Oh no, I'm not gonna give them no, because that would be a liability.
Yeah.
You know, but we'd let them, you know, have their moment with the cup. They took pictures with the cup and things like that, and you know, that's something that because I didn't get a chance to do that here, because for one, that cup, the IFL Cup, is probably about 50 to 60 pounds.
Oh, wow.
It's huge. It's like the Stanley Cup, because it got all the different ones who won on it. It's huge. It's heavy.
That's cool.
So I would never want to pass that thing around. But the one in the CIF is smaller. It's real. You get one hand, and it's cool. But that was what I remember about that. And then we all went out to some biker bar up there. I can't think. Outlaws. That was the name of the bar. It was Outlaws.
Full circle.
We went there, and we had a good time. And, man, it was fun. And then that next day, which was Sunday, my wife and my daughter got up. They flew back to Billings, but one of my other owners, he has this big old saltwater pool, and his heated pool in his backyard, and it's huge. It's big old backyard, so he threw a big old barbecue, and that's where you see a bunch of the pictures on my Facebook or whatever. We were in his backyard and stuff, hanging out, you know, having a good old time. So I definitely celebrated this one more than any of the other 3, because sometimes you got to learn a lesson. I start feeling myself after winning 3 in 5 years.
Sure.
And to go 12 without winning one, it was a wake-up call.
It's a little sweeter.
Oh, yeah, and it made you realize, like, this is not something that happens all the time, so you better celebrate it. So I celebrated it all the way until probably September. We finished in June. I went to took the wife to Cabo for our anniversary. We were celebrating down there. So
nice.
I celebrated this one a long time. I mean, because not that it means anymore or whatever, it's just the drought between. And we were so close the 2 previous years. We lose on the last play of the game, national championship game, in 2018 and 2019. Like, damn. That is crazy. Like, you're right there. Like, what are we doing?
Especially, and then you come to a third one, and it's like,
and it was close. And
are we going to be the Bills, or are we going to, actually?
We were down 16, 14 points in that game going into halftime.
And then you come back.
We come back where they only score one more time. Period. They didn't score at all in the third quarter.
Wow.
That's what got us back. We got 1 turnover on downs. We got 2 interceptions. That was the third quarter. And we score on every single one to take the lead. So that game right there was pretty fun to go through it that way, and to have it come down, because once we went up 10, they had to kick the onside kick. We knew okay, if you get it, you still got to score. And it's only like 15 seconds left. You have no timeout. So how can I say it? I knew we were going to win that. It wasn't like when we play in Sioux Falls and that boy up on top right there, and I'm sitting here like, you see him I'm like, please don't push him in the end zone. So It was a little bit more like you more tense or whatever. Now the one in 2009, that one was what did we play? St. Louis. That was a barn burner. That was a shootout right there.
Okay,
so to go against Pat Pimmel, he was the head coach of the St. Louis team. That was a shootout. So I remember that one. That was fast paced. But the one in 2006 when the King came, King Salter, he had a bad arm and everything that he wasn't going to play. And we didn't know if he was going to play or not until that day. He was like, yeah, I'm going to play. But we didn't know how effective he was going to be.
Wasn't that one a total just...
Yeah, we smacked them. It's if we didn't have King Salter, we would not have smacked them. I mean, I'm not going to lie, because he didn't play the 2 previous playoff games, and we gave up points, because he was that good, and we played against a running back that played. He was in the NFL for the New Orleans.
Okay.
So for the Saints, and this dude was going into that game, he was averaging like 120, 140 something yards indoor, playing running back there. So we shut him down. I think he only had 50 something, and I think he only had 1 touchdown. But we had a great team there too. I mean, we had Big Debo, Big Rod Kelly, Eugene Phillips. He's still here too.
Really?
Eugene Phillips. He has a roofing company that's here. So I mean, yeah, that was a great football. Joey Longoria. He was the corner for me.
Robert Reed.
Yeah, Robert Reed. I mean, Big Artavius was the big right tackle for me. Bonner. He's here too now. So, yeah. Oh, Sanchez. He was the backup quarterback on the team. He's still here now too.
Oh, that's right. Right.
Yeah. So I remember each and every one of them. They all have their special spot. But you say, which one did I celebrate the most? It was the one that just happened. Right? Hey, I'm not gonna lie.
It's understandable. Yeah. Well, hey, you know what? Good luck to you on the next upcoming season.
Thank you.
I know you already said it, but one more time, your positive motivational message.
Take every opportunity that you get and give maximum effort, because you never know what it'll derive to be. My whole life is that saying, because my parents, like I said, they gave me the opportunity to go to Mount Carmel. No other kid in my neighborhood besides one went to a Catholic high school. Everybody went to public school. Nothing against public and Catholic or whatever. But I'm telling you what it did for me. It changed my life. And I made the most of that opportunity. I got a scholarship to go to college. Made the most of that opportunity. Was in the NFL. I made the most of that because of the knowledge that I picked up there. Then I get to coaching. I made the most of that because 18 years, I'm still doing it. Still winning championships, a contender pretty much every year. Making the most of everything that you get and give maximum effort. I mean, that's something I live by.
I love it, man. Yeah, and I absolutely stand by that as well. So, thank you so much, Coach, for coming on the show. Much appreciated.
Thank you. Thanks for having me.
And again, good luck on the upcoming year.
Thanks.
Even though you're going to be playing against my...
I wish we played you guys up here. I missed that one, but you guys will play us in Salina this year. So, I mean, hey.
Maybe I'll have to come watch that. I'll have to travel down or something.
Let me know. I mean, it's a pretty decent time, man. It's different. Small town, about 45,000 people, but it's definitely different. Something good to experience there, though.
All right. Well, I'll be watching closely this year.
That's what's up. Thanks again.
Yeah, absolutely. And for everybody out there, thank you so much for watching. And don't forget, life's a garden. Dig it. Just gotta keep on keeping on. Life's a garden, dig it, you make it work.